ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय जन्माद्यस्य यतो अन्वयादितरतश्च अर्थेषु अभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः. So we now enter the 17th chapter of the 8th Skandha of Srimad Bhagavatam. We saw the prayer Payovrata, the sacred observance Payovrata taught by Kashyapa to his wife Aditi. So all the Devas, the sons of Aditi, had been vanquished and driven out of their heavenly abode. So she prayed to her husband Kashyapa for a way to restore them back in their position, and Kashyapa advised her to observe Payovrata, an observance for 12 days in the bright fortnight of the Phalguna month in March. So now Shuka Brahma Rishi continues, thus instructed by her husband, the sage, great sage Kashyapa, the celebrated wife Aditi, without any laziness, she duly observed this vow of Payovrata for 12 days consecutively and fully observed whatever she was taught by Kashyapa, contemplating all the time on the Almighty Lord, the Supreme Being, with undivided attention. So, this is the essence of a good student. So, Kashyapa is the perfect teacher guru who gave her the instructions of Payovrata. We saw the beautiful observance of Payovrata for 12 days on a milk only diet while serving all the people around with prasad and chanting the right mantras and engaging only in divine transcendental activities through songs and stories and no worldly engagement. And then on the 13th day, have a great Mahaprasad feast, distribute to everyone. So Aditi observed all of this very diligently as a good student. So a great teacher is essential to show the way, and a good student is essential to follow the way. Without the two, it's not possible. One alone is not enough. So Aditi here, being a perfect Sishya student, without any laziness, she observes the vow for 12 days and she contemplates on the Supreme Being with focus. It is said that she curbed the unruly horses, which are the senses, with the rein of her mind and the reason as charioteer. So, this is a simile that comes many times in Bhagavatam. The whole jiva, the supposed individual, is equated to a chariot. The chariot has 5 horses, which are the 5 senses, and the reins of the horses are the mind, and the reins are held in the hand of the charioteer. So, if the charioteer is reason, discernment, viveka, then that charioteer will hold the reins, which is the mind, properly, so that the senses, the 5 horses, go in the right direction. Otherwise, the senses run wild, the horses go in various directions, and the one sitting in the chariot is taken here and there based on wherever the horses feel like going, which is what happens to those who are unregulated. But those who are regulated, who have reason as the charioteer, the chariot goes correctly in a regulated and effective way. So, this way, Aditi focused her mind, and the whole chariot of her being was engaged in a regulated manner, and she was completely focused on Lord Vasudeva, observing Payovrata. It is said, Manascha ekagraya buddhya bhagavati akhilatmani vasudeve samadhaya chacharaha payovratam. She observed Payovratam by completely abiding in Bhagavan, who is Akhilatman, that is the soul of the universe, Vasudeva, who abides everywhere, the Supreme Lord Vasudeva, with single pointed intellect and mind, manascha ekagraya bhuttya. So, with a single pointed mind, with complete attention, she was focused on the Supreme Being and observed Payovratam. So, with this wonderful way that she observed, it is said that at the end of the 12 days, because of her piety and her sincerity, the Lord himself appeared clad in yellow silk, endowed with 4 arms, bearing a conch, a discus, and a mace. Tasyaha pradur abhut tata Bhagavan Adi Purushaha Pitavasascha Chaturbahu Shanka Chakra Gadadhara. So Shanka Chakra and Gada and Padma is the fourth, that is the conch, the discus, the mace, and the lotus flower in each of the 4 hands, wearing yellow silk. The Supreme Being in his original form appeared in front of her. Seeing that she was completely moved, she rose immediately, stood with her palms joined to glorify him, but she could not even open her mouth because her eyes were flooded with tears of joy. She was completely shaking, her limbs were trembling, and hair was standing on end, and she was feeling excessive joy, and she fell flat, offering obeisances like a stick. It is said, Nanama Bhuvi Kayena Dandavat Preeti Vihvala. With great preeti, that is with great love, her entire body fell flat in obeisances on the floor, glorifying the Lord. Then, in a faltering voice, that divine lady Aditi, it is said, she slowly started speaking and glorified Sri Hari, who was standing right in front of her, who is the Lord of Rama. Rama is another name for Lakshmi, who is the Lord of Rama, Lord of all sacrifices, and Lord of the universe. It's nicely said, Udvikshati sa pibati iva chakshusha Ramapatim Yajnapatim Jagatpatim. So that means she was drinking with her own eyes the form of the Lord. Pibati iva chakshusha Ramapatim Yajnapatim Jagatpatim, the Lord of Rama, the Lord of sacrifices, the Lord of the universe. And she started speaking, glorifying the Lord. Aditir Uvacha, she said, O bestower of all fruits of sacrifices, soul of the very sacrifices, immortal Lord, who is most ancient and almighty, whose very feet is sacred and from where sacred waters flow. She says, Yajnesha, Yajna Purusha, Achyuta, Tirthapada, Tirthashravaha, Shravana Mangala Namadheha. So Yajnesha means Lord of all sacrifices. Yajna Purusha means very embodiment of sacrifice. Achyuta, the immortal Lord. Tirthapada means his very lotus feet is, it can have many meanings. One is that his lotus feet, Pada, is a holy abode, Tirtha. The other meaning is Tirtha means holy water, and it is said that Ganga, the divine sacred river, flows from the lotus feet of Sri Hari. So he is Tirtha Pada because the waters of Ganga come from his feet. Tirtha Shravaha, that means all the saints take refuge in him. Shravana Mangala Namadheya, whose very name is auspicious to listen to. He manifests himself in order to relieve the distress of anyone who takes refuge in him. His very feet can enable one to cross the ocean of mundane existence. So she says, you are thus the protector of all the distressed, the one that is the sacred abode of all saints, whose lotus feet are the source of all sacred waters, and who are the protector of the distressed. Then she says, Hail to Sri Hari, the infinite Lord, who for bringing the existence, continuance, and dissolution, that is, the creation, sustenance, and dissolution of the universe, who does it all through his own Maya, and yet established in his own self and untouched by any of the activities of Maya. She says, Vishvaya, Vishwa Bhavana Sthiti Sanyamaya. So, Bhavana Sthiti Sanyam means creation, sustenance, and dissolution. All of this happens by your gunas. She says, Shakti Gunaya, and yet Swasthaya. You abide in your own being without being affected by the activities of guna. Haraye Namaste. So, to this Supreme Lord Sri Hari, I offer my obeisances. Then she says, from you proceed long life, healthy body, unequaled wealth, dominion of all the three worlds, that is heaven, intermediate world, and earth, Bhur Bhuva Swaha, all the powers of yoga, siddhis of yoga, the three pursuits of religious merit, wealth, and sense comforts, that is dharma, artha, kama, as well as jnana, that is the supreme wisdom. So all of this comes forth from the Supreme Lord. So the very life, of course, comes from the Supreme Being. Long life comes from His blessings, healthy body. So at all planes, at the physical level, at the mental level, and at the spiritual level, all blessings come forth from you. So she glorifies Him in this way, and thus being glorified, the Supreme Lord, the inner controller of all beings, he replied, it says, Adityaivam stuto rajan bhagavan pushkarekshanaha kshetrajna sarvabhutanam itiha uvacha bharata. So here also, even when Shuka simply says Bhagavan is replying to her, every word is pregnant with such meaning. He says, Pushkarekshanaha means the one who's got lotus eyes. Kshetrajnaha sarvabhutana means the one who is the knower of the field of all living beings. So this refers directly to a nice verse in Gita, 13th chapter, where Krishna says, Kshetrajnah mam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. That means, all the bodies can be considered like fields. Kshetra means field. Every living entity's body and mind is like the field of activity, and the knower of the field of activity is called Kshetrajna, and Krishna says, I am that knower of the field of activity. So in every living entity, the one who abides as the knower of the field of activity, which is pure awareness, is the Supreme Being. So that's why Shuka says, Kshetrajna Sarvabhutanam, the one who is the inner knower of all living entities, he spoke. And it is said, Bhagavan Uvacha, and Bhagavan addresses Aditi and says, O mother of all Devas, your long cherished desire is known to me, which relates to the welfare of your sons, whose wealth has been usurped by the demons. So the Lord, being the indweller, of course knows all the desires, fears, thoughts, everything. There is nothing that can escape the indweller, because as we already saw, Shuka Brahma Rishi said, Kshetrajna means one who knows the field. So there is not a single thought, single activity that can escape the field of awareness within. One can, that is why it is said, lie to anyone, but one cannot lie to oneself, because the inner field of knower, the witness within, who is Bhagavan, is always aware of every single movement of thought, and therefore one cannot lie to one's true self, which is Bhagavan. So he says, I know what you desire now, which is the welfare of your sons, because they have been driven away from their home by the asuras, by the demons, and you wish to have them regain their home so that you can also be with them, and you wish to see the demons being vanquished again, and you wish to see Indra and all the Devas restored to their rightful position with glory and splendor. So this is all you desire. So this is exactly what Aditi wanted. That's exactly what she expressed to her husband Kashyapa too, as we saw. So Bhagavan says, this is what you desire. So again here, the important thing to also notice is, even when Bhagavan appears, if one is caught in a limited desire, that's all one can ask. When there is the whole ocean in front of us, if we simply take a small cup, we can only take a cup full of water. So similarly, when Bhagavan appears directly in this way, if one asks only something that is very limited, then that's all they will get. So Aditi here, of course, had only one goal, which was the welfare of her sons. So therefore, she asked for it. In fact, it will come later that this is why Aditi had to be born again, and she is actually the one who is born again as Devaki, which we will see later. So for now, Aditi, because she has this desire, Bhagavan says, I shall take care of this. Right now, though, he says the asuras, that is the demons, are very invincible for a simple reason that they are protected by the sages, the guru. So, as we already saw, Bali regained his entire power because of offering humble service to Shukracharya and all the Bhrigus, the gurus, the sages, the Brahmanas. And so it is said that when one offers humble service to sages, to divine beings, to true saints, jnanis, then such a person who is situated in humble service cannot be defeated by any means. So Bhagavan says they are invincible now because their strength is not coming from any material power. Their strength is coming from serving the sages, and therefore they cannot be defeated now. However, because of your sacred vow keeping Payovrata and because of the austerity of Kashyapa, the great sage who has blessed you with this, I shall not let your vow go fruitless. Therefore, I shall do something else that will bring you what you desire for, because you have worshipped me in the proper way. And therefore, what I shall do is to assume the role of a son to you, and this way I shall devise a way for the demons to be defeated. So here Bhagavan says that first of all, the demons cannot be defeated directly because they are serving the Guru so properly. And we already saw Brihaspati allude to this fact when he was able to look at past, present, and future, that there will come a time when the same demons headed by Bali will disrespect their Guru, and that's when their power will go. Until then, they cannot be defeated. So, the way to defeat them is by making them disrespect their Guru in some way. So, Bhagavan will devise a beautiful way for him to disrespect the Guru, but not in any mundane way, but in the most beautiful way, in which Bali himself is given the highest benediction. So this is the why the activity of Bhagavan is so perfect, in that everybody benefits from it. The Devatas will be benefited, and Bali will be given the highest benediction, and Aditi will be satisfied. So everybody is satisfied. So Bhagavan says, all this we will of course see in the ensuing chapters. But here Bhagavan says, I shall come up with a way by which you can have your sons be restored. I shall come up with an expedient, that is with a means by which the situation of the demons will be changed, and thereby they will be removed from that position, and the Devatas, that is the demigods, can reclaim heaven, their natural abode. And all this because of your observance of Payovrata properly, and because of the austerity of Kashyapa, your husband, who has given you this blessing. So here, the other important aspect is, Bhagavan here says that one who has observed a vow properly with all sincerity, they shall never fail in their objective. So it's sincerity that counts, and if one is sincere, then his well being is taken care by Bhagavan. And this is clarified by Bhagavan in many verses in Bhagavad Gita. There is one famous verse where Krishna says, Ananyas chintayanto mam yejana paryupasate tesham nithyabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. If one Ananyas chintayantoma, without any other thought, if one is exclusively devoted to me, to such a person, he says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham, I take care of what they have and give them what they need. So we don't know what we need. We may think we need this and that, but what we really need and what we really ought to preserve will be taken care by Bhagavan if we surrender unto him. And that's why in another verse too, Krishna tells Arjuna, Pratijanihi me bhakta na pranashyati. He says, O Arjuna, declare boldly that my devotee shall never perish. So, anyone who is fully surrendered unto him shall never perish. Their prayer is never fruitless. It always bears fruit in the best possible way. So that's why Krishna, or Here Bhagavan tells Aditi that I shall take care of your desire in the most effective way by devising an expedient. So the first step for that is to become your son. So I shall enter the energy of sage Kashyapa, the procreative energy of sage Kashyapa, and by part of my being entering him, and thereby I shall come into your womb as your son, and then becoming your son, I shall devise a way for achieving your desire. So therefore, Bhagavan says, you go now to Kashyapa and see that I alone abide in him. Having gotten this blessing from me, now see that I alone abide even in the heart of your husband, Kashyapa. Serve him, and you will have a child, and that child is my own avatar, and he shall take care of your desire. And you shall not reveal this to anyone, because one important thing which is always true is whenever we have any sadhana we do or any prayer we offer, it is important to hold it in our heart and not show it off by talking to others, because that dissipates the energy of it. One has to simply hold one's sadhana or prayers in his own heart, and whatever blessings one gets or whatever revelations one gets, it is important to hold it dear and not reveal it to anyone unless it is helpful to them in a very sincere way. But definitely not to reveal it for showing off in any way. So that is why Bhagavan says, keep it in your heart and now go approach Kashyapa, your husband, and serve him, visualizing me as present in his very heart, and thereby you shall be taken care of whatever you desire. So, saying this much, the Lord disappeared on that very spot, and having secured this very rare boon of Lord Sri Hari, that he will be born through her, which is the greatest boon she can have, Aditi now served her husband with great devotion, with complete confidence, because now she knows her husband is already the greatest sage Kashyapa, and Bhagavan himself has come and guaranteed her that he shall be born through her and he shall take care of whatever she desires. So now she is already free. So this is the sign of also someone who's fully surrendered. There is no anxiety anymore for Aditi. Aditi, who was all anxious and depressed and so on, now that she got the word, even though he has to be born and after that he has to grow up, and we don't know how long it will take before her desire of restoring her sons back to the heaven will be accomplished, but she is already completely free of all worries because she fully trusts the word of Bhagavan and the power of her husband. So it is said that Kashyapa also perceived by his own samadhi, his own power of meditation, that the Lord has entered his very being through a mystical process, and then at the right time, the energy, the procreative energy of Kashyapa was transferred to Aditi, and just as it is said, a wind sparks fire and firewood, the energy of the Lord created the birth or the entering in the womb of Aditi of the Lord. So he is still in the womb now, and as he is in the womb, Brahma, who is aware of this whole pastime, so this is going to be the great Vamana Avatar. So there are many avatars of Bhagavan, but 10 of them are considered very principal. It's called Dasha Avatar, and out of that, Vamana is one. It's said as Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana. So out of this, we have seen Varaha, the wild boar avatar who killed Hiranyaksha, Kurma, the tortoise avatar who supported Mount Mandara on his back, Narasimha, the man-lion avatar who killed Hiranyakashipu. Now we are seeing Vamana. So Vamana will be the dwarf avatar of Bhagavan, who will come forth. But before he even comes forth, while he is still in the womb, Brahma offers a beautiful prayer. He says, Jayorugaya Bhagavan Urukrama Namostute Namo Brahmanya Devaya Trigunaya Namo Namaha. He says, O Lord, the one who always triumphs, obeisance unto you, the one who always takes care of all the sages and who is the repository of all the three gunas, I offer my obeisance to you. Then he says, Namaste Prishnigarbhaya Vedagarbhaya Vedase Trinabhaya Triprishtaya Shipivishtaya Vishnave. He says, salutations to you who was born of Prishni. So this is an important allusion because Prishni was the previous incarnation of Aditi. So this will be referred to in the glorious Krishna avatar. As we already mentioned, Aditi will be Devaki. So it's the third time that Krishna is born to Devaki, first to Prishni as Prishni Garbha, because after great prayers, Prishni and her husband prayed to Bhagavan, and when Bhagavan appeared, they simply wanted him as their son, and therefore Prishni Garbha appeared. Then this avatar of Aditi having Vamana, but in both the avatars, in both these incarnations, Prishni and now Aditi still had material desires, and therefore she is born again. And the third time will be Devaki when she has Krishna and she will attain perfection as well. So now it is said, that's why Brahma says, you are Prishni Garbha who appeared as Prishni to the same Aditi when she was Prishni. You hold the Vedas within you and you are the abode of all the three worlds. And he says, you are the beginning, middle, and end of the whole universe, the creation, sustenance, and the dissolution of the universe. You are the inner controller. You are all pervading. That's why he's called Vishnu. Vishnave means all pervading Bhagavan, the one who Sarvam Vyapayati iti Vishnuhu, the one who pervades the whole universe. You are the one whom the Vedas refer to as the supreme being of unlimited powers, and you are the time spirit, and you are the creator of all created beings, animate and inanimate, as well as all the lords of creation. He says, Twamvai Prajanam Sthira Jangamanam Prajapati Namasi Sambhavishnuhu. So, Sthira Jangamana means those which are mobile and those which are immobile. Animate and inanimate beings, all of that, you are the Lord of all of them. You are the supreme refuge of all of them. You are the Lord of all heavenly beings. And he says, therefore, you are the only refuge for everyone, just as a boat is for one drowning in water. So it's a nice simile. He says, Parayanam nauriva majjato apsu. When one is drowning in water, the only thing that can help him is a boat that comes by. Similarly, for all living entities, you are the boat that can save them. My obeisances unto you, O Bhagavan, says Brahma. And all these prayers are offered to Bhagavan when Bhagavan is still in the womb of Aditi. And with this chapter ends. And in the next chapter, we will see the divine appearance of Vamana Avatar. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.